I think a lot of people will read this book and look at some of your thoughts about hockey, the way it's played now, and they'll think, to me, Bobby Orr, fastest skater I ever saw, most exciting player I ever saw, likes a little more interference in the game, and thinks fighting has a place. Could you? I don't disagree with you.
I think the officials are doing a better job. I mean, when they first changed the rules, I mean, if your stick was parallel, and the offense did go up, but it was mostly on power plays.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've come back a little bit, and I think that's good. I really do. I think the hybrid icing is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't seen a defenseman get croaked on the end boards, no injuries, and we're concerned about injuries. I mean, I'm watching the NFL on Sunday, and they're very concerned about injuries
mm-hmm.
too. They had it. So we're always concerned about injuries. One of the points I make in the book is by taking the red line out, our players are so big, so fast, so strong. I mean, we've opened it up. It's made it a more dangerous game. The players really have to be aware of where they are,
mm-hmm.
and the player that's defending, you have to be a little careful too, because there are occasions when they're going to have players in very vulnerable positions. So I think with the rule changes, me not being able to hold guys up, no center line, the goalie's can only go so far. It's made it a more dangerous game. It has made it a faster game, but like years ago in racing, you remember the cars were getting too fast. They're getting too dangerous. And I said, we really have to be careful. I mean, that's my feelings on the red line. On the fighting, my fear if they took the fighting out of the game completely, I don't think we need fighting for the game to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But stage fighting for no reason. A guy throws a good clean check, hits a player, no penalty called, and a guy goes after him because he hit his. No need for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see fights today. I'm looking. What happened?
Well,
why are they on the fight? That fear has the fear of getting beat up is a great deterrent. My fear is if they take it out completely, Jeff. A lot of guys are going to get brave, and a lot of guys are going to be running guys and stick work, and you have to be accountable for what you do on the ice. And it's just if you don't. John Scott going after Phil Kessel.
Yeah.
And look what happened because of that. One of the players leaves the bench, and there's a brawl, and we look awful. It's not necessary. And what's that player doing going after? If you don't play like that, you got to bump him, you got to grind him, you got to hit him. It's part of the game. You don't try to intimidate him. You don't, and that is wrong in our game. Do we want our skilled players playing? Do you want Sidney Crosby in the penalty box, or Sidney Crosby fighting? Or do you want to see Sidney Crosby play? Do you want to see Sidney Crosby hurt? And Sid has to help. Am I right about that? You can't be chirping and jabbing, but I want to see our skilled players play. And do we want a game where all we do is trying to intimidate our skilled players? Or do we want to see our skilled players play?
It seems to me that when you played, and you were a guy, you were always around the pucks. You were always getting hit. To me, you were like Gale Sayers when you're running back for. You were like Gale Sayers. You guys played almost like you were going to get hurt.
Everything I used to hit. I was a pain. Yeah. I expected to hit, but I'm talking about players that don't play like that.
Right.
I mean, we have players that don't play like that, and we try to intimidate them, and so if that's what we want, fine. If that's what the league wants, that's fine. But I still think we have to have that fighting in for it'll keep a lot of people straight, because if you're going to try to take advantage of a player that doesn't play like that, Jean Beliveau, Fergie was around.
Yeah.
You just didn't do it.
But would you say that when you played, there were and I think back even to the Broad Street Bully. I think the Broad Street Bullies were the first team to sort of try to incorporate that. But when you played, there was a reason for a fight. If there was a fight on the ice, you could look back and say, okay, earlier in that shift, these two guys, there was a reason for it.
If we get rid of stage fights, fighting for no reason, get rid of fighting for no reason. Yeah. The only reason to fight is if a player is trying to take one of your who doesn't play like that.
Yeah.
Take him off his game, trying to intimidate him. If that's what we want, fine. But I don't think we do. I think we want those players playing, and there should be somebody there that says, "Hey, just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that." But a stage fight, get rid of them. I don't care. I don't care what you do. But there are players you don't. There are players you bump, you hit, you grind. But there are players you don't You try to intimidate because they're the best players. I want to see the best players play.
There was an incident last night in the St. Louis-San Jose game where Max Lapierre hit Dan Boyle into the end boards, and Boyle was taken off in the stretcher. We had Patrick Coletta suspended for 10 games yesterday. Do players respect each other less now than when you played, Bobby?
Well, first of all, we're a tough game. We don't want to see anybody get hurt, Jeff, but we're a tough game with the size and the speed and the strength, sticks, pucks. We're a tough game, so we don't want, if we get rid of the foolishness. I didn't see the Coletta incident, and I didn't see Lapierre. I don't know what happened. Lapierre. I don't know what happened, how they were hit. So I really can't comment on that. But if it was from behind, the league's doing a pretty good job, a very good job, and jumping on these guys. We got to watch hitting from behind, high blindside hits. They cleared up the icing with the hybrid. I think that's great. Guys aren't getting croaked now, and I think it's wonderful. But on the suspensions and so on, I think the league's doing a pretty good job. And if you get a guy in a vulnerable position, you got to say, maybe just be a little careful here, because the league's going to jump on you now, and I think that's good.
Do you remember, Bobby, when you played guys, something that happened on the ice where it was an example of guys taking care of an opponent, taking care of you? I don't know if that's the right phrase, but I could have caught you. I didn't hit you. I could have caught you there. You had your head down. Do you remember any of those incidents like that? I think you talked about one in the book about Gordie Howe, right? Where somebody wanted to go after Gordie Howe because
that's he got me. I was watching my pretty pass. And Gordie, and of course the guys, I was a rookie, and the guys all came and said, "Whoa, hold it. I'll take care of this. This is my fault. I probably had hit him a little earlier." But then I had my head down. I was looking back, looking at my pretty pass, and bang, and I'm down. But yes, Gordie, I said, got it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We're joined by Bobby Orr in studio. The book is Orr, My Story. It is available on newsstands now. Bobby, before we let you go, one of the big stories in Toronto right now with the Leafs is Morgan Riley. Of course, and I know his Orr Hockey Group, you being an agent, Connor McDavid is a client of yours, another good young player. But the Leafs have to make a decision within 10 games in Morgan Riley. What do you look for? Now, as a Hall of Fame defenseman, you're watching a game. There's a young defenseman out there. What tells you that a guy is ready to play in the NHL, that a defenseman is ready to play in the NHL? Is there one thing you look for?
Oh, I think there are a lot of things you look for with Morgan. How much ice time is he getting?
More and more. It
keeps
going up.
Hello. That's the answer. If he's going to play, whether it's now or next year, but with the Leafs, I'm sure, are trying to be sure about it. Is he going to continue to? Is he ready to play 82 games, playoffs? Will he? Because he'll have a little tail off. It happens. It happens. But so far, every indication is that he is ready, and he's playing a regular shift from what I've seen. Lots of ice time. He seems real comfortable out there. And if that's the case, they probably will keep him. But again, he could be ready, and let's just hope he is, because he's played awfully well for them. He really has.
I know you've got a hectic day today. You've got a lot of interviews. Again, the book is Bobby Orr, by Bobby Orr, or My Story. It's Penguin Canada. It's a terrific book. Bobby, thanks so much for coming in and enjoying us today.
Thank you.